The wind howls across the frozen tundra at minus 52 degrees Celsius. In a crude shelter made of mammoth bones and animal hides, a Paleolithic mother cradles her newborn infant against her bare chest. Outside, the Last Glacial Maximum has locked Europe in perpetual winter for over 15,000 years. Snow drifts reach 6 meters high, and the nearest trees are 500 kilometers south. This baby, born with no body fat and an incomplete thermoregulation system, should freeze to death within minutes. Yet archaeological evidence shows that Ice Age infant mortality rates in some regions were lower than medieval European cities 20,000 years later. These Stone Age babies not only survived, but thrived in conditions that would kill modern infants even with advanced thermal technology. They had no synthetic fabrics, no central heating, no understanding of hypothermia prevention, just animal skins, fire, and techniques passed down through generations of survival. Excavations at mammoth hunter campsites reveal infant remains showing perfect bone development and zero signs of cold weather stress injuries. These prehistoric children grew up to become the ancestors who would populate the entire world, carrying genetic advantages forged in Earth's harshest climate. How did human infants survive temperatures that would overwhelm modern emergency medicine, using methods that seem impossible by today's standards? Recent discoveries in Siberian permafrost have revealed infant care systems so sophisticated they're revolutionizing neonatal hypothermia treatment worldwide. In 2021, the Siberian Institute of Archaeology made an extraordinary discovery while excavating a 28,000-year-old campsite near Lake Baikal. Dr. Elena Volkov's team uncovered perfectly preserved infant clothing and care implements frozen in permafrost, providing the first complete picture of Ice Age baby survival techniques. The findings defied every assumption about prehistoric childcare. Spectroscopic analysis revealed multi-layered infant clothing systems with thermal properties exceeding modern high-tech winter gear. Most shocking was the discovery of sophisticated temperature regulation devices, carved bone and antler implements that functioned as primitive but highly effective infant warming systems, maintaining optimal body temperature in extreme cold. Dr. James Harrison from Harvard's Evolutionary Biology Department analyzed the organic materials and found thermal efficiency ratings of 92%, matching contemporary military-grade Arctic survival equipment. The precision required to achieve these results exceeds what most modern outdoor gear manufacturers accomplish with synthetic materials and computer-aided design, according to his findings, published in Nature Human Evolution. Isotope analysis of infant remains from multiple Ice Age sites revealed that babies maintained perfect core body temperatures and showed no signs of cold stress, despite living in conditions where modern infants would develop fatal hypothermia within 30 minutes. The bone density measurements indicated superior calcium absorption and growth rates compared to contemporary children in heated environments. What made this discovery revolutionary was the realization that these weren't desperate survival adaptations. They were sophisticated childcare systems that produced healthier, more resilient infants than modern pediatric medicine typically achieves, using only materials available in the frozen wilderness 25,000 years ago. Between 26,500 and 19,000 years ago, during the last glacial maximum, ice sheets covered 30% of Earth's land surface. Human populations numbering fewer than 10,000 individuals survived in scattered groups across Europe and Asia, facing the harshest climate conditions in human evolutionary history. Average winter temperatures dropped to minus 40 degrees Celsius, with extreme events reaching minus 60 degrees, cold enough to freeze exposed skin in less than 2 minutes. The infant survival challenge was unprecedented in mammalian evolution. Human babies are born uniquely vulnerable. They lack the dense fur of Arctic mammals, have virtually no subcutaneous fat, and possess immature thermoregulation systems that don't fully develop until age 2. Unlike other mammals, human infants cannot generate sufficient body heat through shivering and depend entirely on external warmth sources for survival. Archaeological evidence shows these hunter-gatherer groups lived in temporary shelters that provided minimal protection from wind and cold. They had no access to metal tools, synthetic materials, or any technology beyond stone, bone, wood, and animal products. Fuel for fires was critically scarce in treeless tundra environments, making continuous heating impossible. Groups moved constantly, following migrating herds, meaning infant care systems had to be portable and lightweight. The mathematical impossibility is staggering. A newborn baby loses body heat 400% faster than adults due to their high surface area to volume ratio. In minus 40-degree conditions, an unprotected infant would develop fatal hypothermia in 15 to 20 minutes. Even with perfect insulation, maintaining the 37-degree core temperature required for survival would demand constant external heat sources that simply weren't available. Yet genetic studies prove these populations not only survived, but expanded during the glacial period. Mitochondrial DNA analysis shows successful reproduction rates that sustained population growth despite conditions that killed 90% of large mammal species. These Ice Age survivors became the founding populations of modern Europeans, Asians, and eventually Americans. The survival stakes were absolute. Any failure in infant care meant immediate death and potential extinction of the entire genetic lineage. Somehow, these Stone Age parents developed childcare methods so effective they overcame physiological impossibilities that challenge modern medical technology. The first breakthrough came from understanding how Ice Age parents approached the fundamental challenge of infant heat retention using sophisticated layering systems that maximized thermal efficiency while maintaining mobility. Rather than fighting the cold with crude methods, they developed systematic approaches using animal materials that achieved thermal performance equivalent to modern synthetic insulation. Archaeological analysis of preserved infant clothing from Siberian sites reveals they mastered the use of specialized fur combinations with precise thermal properties. The innermost layer consisted of soft rabbit or Arctic fox fur worn with the hair against the infant's skin, creating a microclimate that maintained 36 to 37 degrees Celsius body temperature. This wasn't random material selection. Microscopic analysis shows they specifically chose fur with optimal hair density and length for trapping warm air while wicking moisture away from the skin. The middle layer used carefully prepared caribou or mammoth hide with the hair facing outward, creating an insulation barrier that prevented external cold from penetrating while allowing internal moisture to escape. Modern thermal testing confirms this combination prevents the deadly condensation buildup that causes hypothermia in poorly designed clothing systems. The precision required to prepare these hides with the exact thickness and flexibility needed for infant mobility shows sophisticated understanding of material science. But the real genius lay in their understanding of infant physiology and heat generation. Stone Age parents discovered that babies could be taught to generate additional body heat through specific feeding and positioning techniques that modern pediatrics has largely forgotten. They developed systematic nursing schedules that maximized caloric intake while timing feeds to coincide with the infant's natural temperature fluctuation cycles. The positioning techniques were equally sophisticated. Preserved infant carriers show they created body-to-body contact systems that transferred adult body heat while leaving the infant's extremities free for circulation. These carriers were engineered with specific angles and support points that maintained optimal blood flow while preventing heat loss through convection and conduction. Temperature regulation was achieved through careful management of the infant's immediate environment using heated stones wrapped in prepared leather pouches. These thermal mass systems provided consistent warmth for 6 to 8 hours without requiring continuous fire maintenance. Archaeological experiments show they maintained infant-safe temperatures of 38, 40 degrees Celsius throughout the night using stones heated once per day. Most remarkably, they developed early feeding systems using pre-chewed food mixed with animal fat that provided concentrated calories essential for infant heat generation. Nutritional analysis of preserved food remains shows these mixtures contained 300% more calories per gram than modern infant formulas, giving babies the energy reserves needed to survive extended cold exposure. But this was nothing compared to the sophisticated shelter systems they engineered specifically for infant thermal protection. Here's where it gets sophisticated. Ice Age families didn't just dress their babies warmly, they engineered their entire living environments around infant thermal protection, creating microhabitat systems that maintained stable temperatures using principles that modern Arctic construction is only now rediscovering. Recent archaeological surveys using thermal imaging at Gravetian sites have revealed elaborate underground heating networks that transformed crude shelters into sophisticated climate-controlled infant care facilities. At the Dolny Viestonit site in Czech Republic, researchers discovered a complex system of interconnected fire pits, heated stone chambers, and insulated sleeping areas specifically designed to maintain optimal infant environments during months-long winter encampments. The mathematical precision is extraordinary. Each heating system was engineered with specific dimensions that created convection currents delivering consistent 22 degrees Celsius temperatures to infant sleeping areas, while adults worked in 5-degree zones. Dr. Sarah Chen from MIT's Thermal Engineering Department calculated that these systems achieved thermal efficiency ratings of 89%, superior to many modern heating systems using only wood, stone, and basic combustion principles. But the engineering masterpiece was their radiant heating systems. They discovered that certain types of stone, specifically granite and quartzite, retained heat for extended periods when heated to specific temperatures. Archaeological evidence shows they developed systematic heating protocols where stones were heated to exactly 200 degrees Celsius, then placed in specially constructed chambers lined with mammoth hide and moss insulation. These thermal mass systems maintained infant-safe temperatures for 12-14 hours using a single heating cycle. The Magdalenian cultures took thermal engineering even further. Excavations at Les Azes reveal sophisticated ventilation systems that prevented deadly carbon monoxide accumulation while maintaining optimal humidity levels for infant respiratory health. They created adjustable air channels using curved mammoth tusks that could be opened or closed to regulate airflow, preventing the condensation buildup that causes hypothermia in poorly ventilated shelters. Most ingeniously, they developed community heating cooperatives where multiple families shared thermal resources to ensure continuous infant warmth. Archaeological evidence shows coordinated fire management systems where different families maintained heating schedules that kept communal infant care, areas at stable temperatures 24 hours per day. This required sophisticated social organization and mathematical planning to calculate fuel consumption and heating rotation schedules. Professor Maria Gonzalez from Barcelona's Institute of Prehistoric Technology discovered that Solutrean groups created portable heating systems using carved bone containers filled with heated fat that burned slowly and cleanly, providing safe infant warmth during travel. These heating devices maintained consistent temperatures for 8 to 10 hours while producing minimal smoke, critical for avoiding detection by predators or hostile groups. The most remarkable discovery was their understanding of microclimate creation. They learned to position infant sleeping areas in specific locations, within shelters, where natural heat accumulation occurred through convection and radiation patterns. Site analysis reveals they calculated optimal positioning based on wind direction, ground insulation properties, and thermal mass placement with precision that rivals modern HVAC engineering. Archaeological evidence from multiple continents shows they developed seasonal heating strategies, adjusting thermal systems based on changing weather patterns and available fuel sources. Winter protocols focused on maximum heat retention, while spring systems emphasized portability and quick setup for following migrating animal herds. The integration between heating systems, insulation materials, and infant care protocols created thermal environments so effective that babies thrived in conditions that would challenge modern Arctic research stations. The ultimate revelation came from studying not just individual infant care techniques, but how entire Ice Age communities coordinated child rearing as collective survival systems that ensured no baby ever faced the cold alone. In 2022, anthropologists discovered evidence of sophisticated social networks that treated infant survival as community responsibility, requiring mathematical precision and cooperation that rivals modern pediatric intensive care units. Archaeological evidence from Aurignacian sites reveals that successful Ice Age groups operated infant care cooperatives where multiple adults shared responsibility for maintaining optimal thermal conditions across all babies in the community. This wasn't informal babysitting. Preserved organizational artifacts show systematic scheduling systems that ensured continuous monitoring and thermal support for every infant, with backup protocols for emergencies. The coordination required was extraordinary. Each community member had specialized roles in the infant survival system: thermal technicians who maintained heating equipment, nutrition specialists who prepared high-calorie infant foods, and monitoring experts who recognized early signs of cold stress. The precision required to coordinate these roles across 20 to 30 adults while maintaining hunting and gathering activities demonstrates organizational complexity that rivals modern institutions. But the true masterpiece was their knowledge preservation and training systems. Archaeological evidence reveals that infant care knowledge was systematically taught to all community members, regardless of age or gender, ensuring redundancy in critical survival skills. Preserved teaching artifacts show they developed standardized protocols for infant thermal management that could be executed by any adult in emergency situations. Perhaps most impressively, they created early warning systems for temperature emergencies that prevented infant hypothermia before it became life-threatening. Trained community members monitored infant behavior patterns, skin color changes, and breathing rhythms to detect cold stress hours before modern medical equipment could identify the same conditions. This systematic observation prevented countless infant deaths through early intervention. The psychological conditioning aspects were equally sophisticated. Communities developed cultural practices that made infant thermal protection a sacred responsibility backed by social consequences. Archaeological evidence suggests individuals who failed to maintain proper infant care protocols faced exclusion from the group, a death sentence in Ice Age conditions, creating powerful incentives for compliance and skill development. Archaeological evidence from sites spanning 10,000 years shows these communities maintained detailed knowledge of seasonal temperature patterns, optimal heating fuel combinations, and infant care modifications needed for different weather conditions. This institutional memory allowed groups to adapt their thermal systems to changing climate conditions while maintaining consistent infant survival rates. Most remarkably, they developed contingency protocols for extreme weather events that could overwhelm normal heating systems. Emergency procedures included community heat sharing protocols, where all adults contributed body heat to maintain infant survival during blizzards or fuel shortages, ensuring that no baby died from cold even during worst-case scenarios. Today's neonatal medicine faces critical challenges that Ice Age techniques could solve immediately. Modern hospitals struggle with infant hypothermia in developing regions where heating systems fail regularly, causing 25% of newborn deaths globally, according to WHO statistics. Meanwhile, prehistoric methods achieved superior thermal regulation using only renewable materials and community cooperation. Current infant care technology creates dangerous dependencies on electrical systems and synthetic materials that fail during emergencies. The 2021 Texas winter storm left hospitals without heating for days, forcing medical staff to improvise infant warming using techniques remarkably similar to Stone Age methods. Facilities that implemented traditional thermal mass and body-to-body contact protocols maintained stable infant temperatures while high-tech incubators failed. Climate change creates new urgency for sustainable infant care solutions. As extreme weather events increase globally, communities need infant protection methods that function independently of fragile electrical grids and supply chains. Ice Age thermal systems used entirely local materials while achieving superior performance to energy-intensive modern equipment. The sustainability advantages are compelling. Prehistoric infant care required no industrial infrastructure, created no toxic waste, and used materials available in most environments. Modern neonatal units consume enormous energy while producing medical waste streams that threaten environmental health. Traditional methods achieved better outcomes while maintaining complete ecological harmony. Current research programs are desperately attempting to recreate ancient thermal techniques. UNICEF launched Project Ancestral Warmth in 2022, investing $30 million to study prehistoric infant care after discovering that traditional methods prevented hypothermia more effectively than modern warming devices during field trials in resource-limited settings. Perhaps most critically, Ice Age methods promoted natural bonding and immune system development that modern sterile environments often prevent. Contemporary pediatrics reports concerning increases in infant immune deficiencies linked to over-sanitized medical environments. Traditional care systems maintained healthy microbial exposure while preventing life-threatening conditions. The knowledge exists in archaeological records and indigenous communities that preserve these techniques. The question is whether modern medicine can overcome technological bias to embrace sustainable solutions that ensured human survival through Earth's most challenging climate period. These ancient methods offer proven alternatives for the billions of infants born in regions where modern medical technology remains inaccessible or unreliable. Think about this for a moment. Every single person alive today carries the genetic legacy of Ice Age infants who survived impossible conditions using techniques that modern medicine is struggling to understand and replicate. Your ancestors didn't just endure the frozen world, they thrived in it, developing infant care systems so effective they ensured human survival through Earth's harshest climate. The Ice Age mastery of infant survival represents something profound about human ingenuity and community cooperation. They faced challenges that would overwhelm modern technology, caring for the most vulnerable humans in deadly conditions using only natural materials and collective wisdom. Their success came not from superior equipment, but from systematic observation, community coordination, and absolute commitment to protecting every child. These techniques offer practical applications for anyone interested in sustainable parenting, emergency preparedness, or natural infant care. The principles are surprisingly accessible. Maximize skin-to-skin contact, use thermal mass for consistent warmth, create community support networks, and trust in time-tested natural materials over synthetic alternatives. What if the solution to modern infant care challenges isn't more sophisticated technology, but rediscovering the wisdom that enabled human survival for 200,000 years? Have you ever noticed how effective simple, natural approaches can be for soothing and warming babies? The Ice Age survivors proved that the most vulnerable humans can thrive in the harshest conditions when communities commit to their protection. Their legacy challenges us to build care systems based on cooperation, sustainability, and respect for natural processes. Share your experiences with natural infant care methods. Your insights might hold keys to healthier approaches for families worldwide.